probably the worst thing that happened to us was we went to Old Trafford and won, and we couldn't win a game after that.
His bloody fault, wasn't
it? He scraped over the line. It was, but as I say, there you go.
Well, this guy.
Brilliant.
This is the official Leeds United podcast.
I'm delighted now to welcome to the podcast one of your former teammates, Jermaine. Michael Doyle joins us. Now, Michael spent a year on loan at Leeds during the dark but ultimately successful League One days of 2009 to 10, becoming a cult hero as he helped the side, including you, Becks, to promotion that year. So, very warm welcome, Michael Doyle. And Michael, at this stage in your life and where you're at now, how do you reflect on your time at Elland Road?
It was brilliant, amazing. I had a great time, absolutely loved it. Very fortunate, to play for a club as big as Leeds United. I knew at the time when I was going there was a bit of talk for probably 6 months building up before I went there. That I remember watching the game against Millwall when they lost in the playoffs at Elland Road, and I knew there was a chance at that stage of me going there. And I remember watching the game, and I just felt like I'd love to go there. Like, obviously the stadium, the fan base, it speaks for itself. So I remember watching it thinking, when they lost in the playoffs, thinking, I'd love to go there. I feel like I could bring something to that team because they were an absolutely brilliant young side, and I was excited to try and get there. And very fortunate, I got there 2 days before the season started against the following season. So it was just a brilliant opportunity. I think at that stage I was fairly experienced. I think I was 28, but I knew, like, Leeds United, where it was going. Like, it was only a matter of time before it got back to where it is now. Probably a bit longer than people anticipated, but it was just great to be a part of it for the year. Absolutely loved it, and played with some great lads, and one of the best sort of team spirits, in a sense, that I played in that season. They were just great people.
We've had some wonderful Irish players over the years, and off the back of that, we've had a pretty decent fan base in Ireland. Did you notice that even when we're in League One, back home, was there still quite a lot of Leeds fans?
Oh, honest to God, there was so many Leeds fans. My brother's friends are all Leeds fans who are over every other week. Like, they're still, unfortunately, lost my dad a couple of weeks ago. And,
sorry, mate.
Sorry to hear that,
but there was a lot of lads that were Leeds fans up there at the funeral and the wake and things like that. It was absolutely lovely to see them all, and still asking me for jerseys and things like that. But they're still here. They were there in League One, and they're still there now, and it's absolutely brilliant. I just think when big clubs, when they go down, you really see what they're all about. I think, like, the clubs, the fans just galvanise them. They just, when they go, the lower they go, the bigger they get. That's what I always say with your Leeds, and I had it when I went to Coventry and Portsmouth. The fan base is just so passionate, and they get behind their teams even more because they're so desperate for their clubs to survive and kick back on. It was a brilliant experience, as I say, to be there. And I mean, majority of games we went to, it was just, you would have been used to it, Becks, but it was just took over. 3 sides of every ground was took over by Leeds United fans. It was amazing.
And it was.
The thing is, you never fully get used to it, though, Doyle. That's the thing. So even I was at the club for 4.5 years, but every single time walking out of the tunnel at Elland Road was still a new experience for me. It was still one of those moments of just pure adulation and just. I'm in awe of what's going on around me. I'm in awe of the sound that's coming out of the fans' mouths. I'm in awe of the streamers and the toilet roll and everything that's getting thrown down onto the field, and just the energy that the crowd gave us. It never ever got to a point where you got used to it.
Yeah.
So everything you're saying there, mate, it just hit a nerve, and I loved it. Yeah. Absolutely loved it.
That's amazing. There's nothing better as a player, I think, especially it's hard when clubs go lower down because the jersey, for a lot of players, the jersey can become too big for them. And what it is, it's just the expectations from the fans, the demands, the pressure. And as I say, I was very lucky. I think I added something to that team, but it was just brilliant to play with people like Becks and Becchio and Snodgrass, House, and some of the best players I ever played. Honestly, were in that team. And to top it off, like, I genuinely mean, you're just the best people, you know, snotty people like Becks. I used to get on great with Becks and step aside and all the coach trips and that, but just some characters, Johnny House and the way he went about his business every day as a young player, he was just the
So professional, wasn't he?
and like it was just brilliant to be around them. And as I say, they as I said, well, basically what I'm saying is they could handle wearing that jersey. And for the first 6 months of that season, we were absolutely brilliant. And probably the worst thing that happened to us was we went to Old Trafford and won, and we couldn't win a game after that. Then
his bloody fault, wasn't it?
He scraped over the line. It was, but as I say, yeah, there you go.
Well, this guy,
brilliant.
You made a good point there about filling the shirt, and you know, we saw that a lot over the years. But particularly that season, the season before, with all the, you know, the points deductions that we'd suffered, and it felt there was a grave injustice going on amongst the fan base. And I always get the impression, I've tried to speak to you about this, Becks, before, like that really galvanised everyone on the pitch and all the players, so that the fans, I mean, they always get behind the players, but there's something about those seasons where everyone was all just pushing in the same direction. And I was wondering if there was slightly less pressure on you guys on the field a little bit, because everyone we all, even though you even came in on loan, everyone just was so angry at everyone else. All we had was each other, and it was just like, we're all going to do. We're
less
gonna do
pressure.
This. Well, I'm curious. I don't know. That's why I'm
less
asking.
Pressure.
Was there?
No, I personally think it was just I don't know if I felt like that, but I just felt like going in there, I was playing with good players, great players, and you know, a lot of them players they went on to have unbelievable careers. And when I was going in there, I could see like Becks and Snodgrass, Bradley Johnson, House, and they were all destined to go higher. You know, it was just whether Leeds went with them. As I say, it probably looked like less pressure, but we knew we were under. I know for that season we expected to get promoted and we wanted to get promoted, so there was massive amount of pressure. And when, as I say, when you're playing in Elland Road in front of 29,000 every week, and then travelling to Stockport and you're taking 4,000 fans there, it carries massive pressure, because don't get me wrong, that 6 months of the season, it was unbelievable. We were winning every week. We were, you know, the crowd were right behind us. But don't get me wrong, on the other side of it, when we did start losing and stuff like that, the pressure was through the roof, you know. And there was a lot of fans, and they're brilliant fans, and rightly so, but they weren't shy on letting you know on the pitch, because the demand, the passion. No, they did. They wanted to win. They were sick of being in League One, and it came onto the pitch, and sometimes it was tough, but you had to just deal with that as a player. So we were under massive pressure, but I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as well as a group, you know.
Speaking of that pressure, there's few occasions that I've felt the cauldron of Elland Road bubble to the levels it did in that final game, the Bristol Rovers game, and we went 1-0 down, and you surely must have felt it, because I was in the crowd that day, and it was tense as hell. But you know, the pair of you, you know, you came through it. What I'd like you to both together talk us through like that game, and maybe mention, you know, Max Gradle moment. I know you were both involved with that. So I just want to hear from your perspectives what that game played out like, because I've got my experience in the stands, but I'd love to know what it was for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, just like, you know, it's probably one of the. It was like I'll be honest with you, the best way of describing it was like Roy the Rovers. I really mean that, in the sense of, you know, to go down to 10 men, the last game of the season, we had to win to guarantee automatic promotion. And then Max gets sent off. It's like to go 1-0 down. You couldn't write it, but that was Leeds United for me, in a sense.
Yes, really, it's for me as well.
No, but what I mean by that was, like, when we needed that crowd more, like there was 42,000 there that day. That place just erupted second half when we went the goal down. Because I remember thinking, if we end up in the playoffs, like, we ain't going up, because we were so out of form. We really fell off. Like, we should have won that league. And I genuinely mean, after that Old Trafford game, a lot of players came in on loan. The squad became massive, and it started chopping and changing. We fell out of form. It was like we crawled over the line. We went down to Charlton the week before, and we should have won at Charlton. We lost one. We were drawn 0-0, And to be fair to Simon, the word came in, I think with 15 minutes to go, that if we beat Charlton, we'd go up, and he made a few attacking changes. We ended up losing the game 1-0, but it didn't affect us. We still had it in our own hands going back to Elland Road the following week, and we were so up for the game. We built up all season. We were so worked up, and then, you know, we felt really confident. And then Max, you know, to be fair, he had a moment, and it just happens in football, and it cost us. And he was devastated. Like, the kid was in tears. He was a brilliant lad. He was the hardest worker out of everybody there. And, you know, to be fair to the lads, have absolutely pulled them out, you know, because I think he'd have been lynched after the game. And but as I say, we went 1-0 down. I remember at the start of the second half, Darryl Duffy, I think, scored for Bristol Rovers, broke down the left and scored. And you're thinking, bloody hell. But just something changed. The minute they scored, something changed in the stadium. The place just erupted. And I'll never forget it when we got that first goal. Just like, genuinely mean it. Me and Neil Kilkenny were just celebrating, with bloody tears coming out my eyes. You could just feel it. Like, it just meant that much. And and then Becks goes and scores. It was just unbelievable. It was an unbelievable day. Johnny and Becks, like, as I say, Johnny had the disappointment. He was probably, you know, player of the season. Him, Snoddy. They were probably two of our best players that year, and two of our biggest players up there with Becks. And they got left out the last game of the season. That's how out of form we were as a team. People like that had been mainstays in the team, and they got left out, which would have been a massive disappointment for Snoddy and Johnny. But both lads come on when we needed them the most, and they changed the game for us, both of them. Just the game changed when them two came on. And as I say, fortunately for us, Johnny pulls out an absolute worldie, and Becks scores as well. And you know, you just felt at 2-1, that's it, we're there. And it was, as I say, it was a special moment to do it like that, down to 10 men. It was a lot of pressure, as they say. You know, you said we were under no pressure that year, but we were under pressure.
Yeah, well, at that point, I'll resign to the fact there was a bit of pressure in that game.
Yeah. Michael, you obviously speak highly of Jermaine, but what was he like to play with, and as a character as well?
I think there's always that perception of Jermaine on the pitch, like that, like you know, a little bit, probably a bit arrogant, sure of himself, and things like that, you know. But
striker,
I have to say, he was an absolute, and I don't just say he was just a great teammate, just a great person, treated everybody brilliant. Couldn't do enough for people in around the dressing room. He was just the way he is. When you see him on telly, always smiling, you know, quite just a funny lad. Smile. And some great people.
This is just my face.
Yeah. But as I say, some people get perceptions of, you know, they see people on a football pitch, and, you know, people probably see me on a football pitch and think, he's this and he's that. And it's just, but then you go and meet and you think, this fella's a great guy. And that was Jermaine. As I say, he was a great teammate, and he done absolutely brilliant for Leeds, and he got a great move off the back of it to Everton, and it was well deserved, as I say. But as a player on the pitch with Jermaine, he could go long periods with doing nothing, and then the ball would fall to him when you needed him the most, and he pulled something out. And
it's a bit like this podcast, to be honest.
Preserving my energy for when it counts.
You know, we'd have games where he'd be quiet, but he was just prolific, like one of the best finishers I played. But as I say, him and Johnny House in after training, some of the finishing you used to see out of the two of them was like left and right foot. It was brilliant, yeah.
What was he like?
See, that was one of my favourite things as well in training, because I knew I had players like Johnny House. Brad Johnson always used to stay afterwards. He was one of those players that had to keep on practicing his finishing. Luciano was always out there practicing his finishing. And we used to, as attacking players, have little comps, Max Gradle as well. For every, we'd go rounds. So for every round we'd play, it would be a £5 per round. So if you won that round, the other 3 would give you a £5. So you're 15 quid up. I don't promote gambling. I do not promote gambling. I'm just saying. But this is one of the ways that we try to push each other and become that little bit more clinical in front of goal.
Is that how you bought that big house?
It's just something that I loved. No comment. So, one of the things, what Doyle was saying earlier about having those perceptions, preconceived ideas of people before you've met them. You see the way they set themselves up on the football field. I was exactly the same when I saw Doyle had signed. I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I hope he's on my team in training, because the last thing I want is to get smashed on a Thursday, Friday before a game, because he doesn't hold back. But again, one of the most nicest, politest, kindest, caring people in football. Absolutely amazing. And that's why we got on so well. I've got nothing but good things to say about him. I flipping love you, Doyle. I miss you, man.
Oh, this is beautiful. This is a lovely thing, guys. I like it.
Doyle touched on it before as well. You know, the squad we had, all of the different personalities just clicked. You know, we didn't have any bad eggs. Nobody was a bad influence on anybody else. We just worked so well as a unit, and I think that's one of the reasons as well why we managed to get as far as we did and become successful in that season, to get out of that league, especially after going through difficult periods, because we knew we all had each other's backs, regardless of what was going on outside. We had so much time and affection for each other. It was only going to end a positive way.
I think the thing is, for me, like, probably I keep mentioning Johnny and Snoddy and Becks and people like that, you know, but probably the best teammate out of all the lads there, and it was just like taught me so much, and it was Casper Ankergen. Like, Casper was just the best fella, like, in the sense he typified everything what the team was about. And Casper started off the season and going, he lost his place, but I'll tell you what, like, just the support he gave the team every single week. He was in the dressing room before the game, after the game, come on boys, and he would have been the most disappointed, I'd say, because he trained so hard all week, and he'd had a spell at Leeds where he played week in, week out for a long time, and then he was out of the team. But I'll tell you what, he just typified everything what a footballer should be, and teammate, the way he trained, the way he went in and supported all his teammates. Like, every single game, you'd see him in there at half-time telling lads, like, try this, look at this, because he was watching the game. Wow. And he was constantly giving the information, and it was people like him that probably, you know, typified what the team was all about, like, as I say, because he didn't play anywhere near as much as he would have liked it, but he was just the ultimate teammate, and he was he was like one of a number of lads that were just all pushing for each other, as I say. And you look at where the club is now, obviously that team, it's probably not as held in high regard, but probably played a part in the start of the journey to where it is now. And it's amazing. I think everybody knew where Leeds was eventually going to go, but I think it's probably exceeded everybody now with the manager they have, the ownership they have. It's just absolutely brilliant to see them, you know, where they are, you know, where they belong.
This is the official Leeds United podcast.